Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! The discordant image of a vibrant pink cardigan draped over his customary canvas was a startling visual symphony. It clung lifelessly to Liam, contrasting sharply with the muted palette of grays and blues that typically adorned his lanky frame. Striding through the bustling mall, Liam fidgeted with the unfamiliar denim encasing his legs, an awkwardness accentuated by the shopping bag he carried, a temporary custodian of his sister's online purchases. A mere errand, he reminded himself, a return quest for ill-fitting apparel, yet an endeavor laden with peculiar discomfort. Looming ahead, the boutique's facade, emblazoned with the name Petal Palace, heralded its oasis of sartorial elegance. Its window, a tableau of spring's blooming hues, beckoned Liam inward, but his steps hesitated, as if he were a trespasser venturing into an unknown realm. Men, he knew, seldom trod this path unescorted, and the very air seemed laden with the weight of expectation. A swift excursion, he whispered under his breath, as much to reassure himself as to affirm the temporary nature of his foray. The scent of vanilla and something floral, perhaps lavender, filled the air. A sales associate with copper-colored hair and a warm smile approached.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Welcome to Blossom. Is there anything I can help you find today?
Tatum opened his mouth to correct her, but something stopped him. The word ma'am echoed in his ears, producing an unexpected flutter in his chest. He looked down at the pink cardigan, the skinny jeans, and realized how the clerk had made the assumption.
I'm just here to return these items,
he said, his voice softer than usual as he handed over the bag and receipt. The clerk's smile never faltered. Of course. These were online purchases? Let me process that for you. She examined the items, the cardigan identical to the one Tatum wore, and a blouse with a delicate lace collar. The cardigan looks lovely on you, by the way. That shade of pink really complements your complexion. Heat rose to Tatum's cheeks. Thank you, he replied, not correcting her assumption. As the clerk processed the return at the counter, Tatum's gaze wandered around the store. A rack of dresses caught his attention, particularly a floral summer dress with a pattern of small daisies against a background of sky blue. The clerk followed his gaze. That just came in yesterday. It's part of our spring collection. She finished the return and handed Tatum the receipt. Would you like to take a closer look? Something in her gentle encouragement made Tatum nod. I suppose I could. They walked to the rack together, and the clerk selected the dress in what she estimated to be Tatum's size. This would pair beautifully with your coloring. The fitting rooms are just over there if you'd like to try it on. Tatum hesitated only briefly before accepting the hanger. I think I will, thank you. The fitting room was small but elegant, with a plush chair in one corner and a full-length mirror framed in white. Tatum hung the dress on a hook and stared at it for a long moment. His hands trembled slightly as he removed the pink cardigan. The jeans followed, and then his t-shirt, until he stood in just his underwear, staring at his reflection. The dress slipped over his head easily, the fabric cool against his skin. It took some adjusting to get it to fall properly, but when he finally looked at himself in the mirror, his breath caught. The dress cinched slightly at the waist before flowing outward, creating the illusion of curves where there were none. The blue made his eyes appear brighter, and the cut of the neckline somehow softened his jawline. For the first time in his life, Tatum saw himself as someone else, someone who had perhaps been hiding just beneath the surface all along. A soft knock at the door startled him. "How is it fitting?" the clerk called. Tatum opened the door a crack, suddenly wanting confirmation that what he saw wasn't just in his imagination. "It's different." The clerk's eyes widened with delight. "It's perfect on you. The cut is exactly right for your frame, and that color, it makes your eyes pop. Would you like to see some accessories that would complement it? Perhaps a simple necklace or a cardigan for cooler evenings." The enthusiasm was infectious, and Tatum found himself nodding. "Yes, I'd like that." The next hour passed in a blur of excitement as Tatum tried on several outfits, each one selected by the clerk, who introduced herself as Eleanor. She brought him a white cardigan to go with the floral dress, delicate jewelry that didn't overwhelm his frame, and even a pair of sandals that, surprisingly, fit his narrow feet. When it came time to change back into his own clothes, or rather his sister's, Tatum felt a twinge of disappointment. The vision in the mirror faded as he removed the dress, but something inside him had irrevocably shifted. At the register, he placed the floral dress, the white cardigan, and a simple pendant necklace on the counter. "Excellent choices," Eleanor said, as she carefully folded each item. "These will be perfect for the warming weather." Tatum nodded, his mind already racing ahead to when and where he might wear them. "Thank you for your help today. I wasn't expecting to purchase anything." "Sometimes the best finds are unexpected," Eleanor replied, sliding his purchases into a Blossom shopping bag. "We have a loyalty program if you're interested. We can send you updates on new arrivals and special promotions." "I'd like that," Tatum said, providing his email address without hesitation. As he left the store, bag in hand, Tatum felt lighter somehow, as if he'd set down a burden he hadn't known he was carrying. The pink cardigan no longer felt strange against his skin, but rather like a beginning. The first page of a story he was finally ready to read. The next few weeks were a private revolution in Tatum's apartment. The floral dress hung prominently in his closet, no longer hidden in the back, but displayed as a centerpiece among his growing collection of feminine attire. Each evening after work, he would change out of his office clothes, still masculine at this point, and slip into something that felt increasingly like his true self. Online purchases arrived regularly, carefully researched choices that complemented his frame. He learned about styles that minimized broader shoulders and created the illusion of a waistline. He discovered the transformative power of the right undergarments. Most importantly, he began to recognize himself in these clothes in a way he never had before. 1 month after his visit to Blossom, Tatum sat at his computer, cursor hovering over a website that sold wigs. He ran a hand through his short blonde hair, imagining it longer, framing his face in soft waves. With a decisive click, he ordered a blonde wig that matched his natural color, but fell past his shoulders in gentle curls. When it arrived, he spent an entire evening learning to put it on properly, tucking away his short hair and adjusting the front until it looked natural. The transformation was remarkable. The person in the mirror was someone new yet familiar, someone who had been waiting patiently to be acknowledged.
"Marley,"
he whispered to his reflection, trying out the name that had come to him days earlier. It felt right on his lips, a name that bridged who he had been with, who he was becoming. The revelation wasn't without complications. Tatum, now increasingly thinking of herself as Marley, worked at an accounting firm with conservative leadership. She had a family who had never seen any signs of the identity she was discovering. There were friends who knew only the version of herself she had presented for 30 years. But there was also Eleanor at Blossom, who had seen something in her that Marley herself was only beginning to recognize. The email promotions from the boutique became lifelines, each one addressed to valued customer, but feeling somehow personal, encouraging another visit. 2 months after the initial purchase, Marley returned to Blossom, this time deliberately dressed in the floral dress, white cardigan, and with her blonde wig carefully styled. Her makeup was minimal but effective, learned through countless tutorial videos. The chime announced her arrival, and Eleanor looked up from arranging a display. Recognition flickered in her eyes, followed by a warm smile. "Welcome back! That dress looks even more wonderful on you than I remembered." Marley smiled, relief washing over her. "Thank you. I've worn it quite a few times since I bought it. It shows. You seem very comfortable in it now." Eleanor approached, offering a gentle handshake. "I don't think I properly introduced myself last time. I'm Eleanor."
"Marley,"
she replied, the name feeling natural and right. Eleanor's smile widened. "Marley, it suits you. Are you looking for anything in particular today?" "Actually, I'm looking to expand my wardrobe. I'm transitioning," Marley said, the word both frightening and liberating to say aloud. It was the first time she had named what was happening to anyone but herself. Eleanor's expression softened with understanding. "Well, you've come to the right place. Let's find you some pieces that will help you feel like yourself." That day marked another turning point. With Eleanor's guidance, Marley selected clothes for different occasions. Work-appropriate attire that was feminine without being conspicuous, casual wear for weekends, even a simple black dress for evenings out. Each item was chosen with care, building not just a wardrobe, but a foundation for her emerging identity. As weeks became months, Marley's confidence grew. She began to grow out her natural blonde hair, relegated the wig to occasional use, and researched hormone therapy. The changes in her appearance became more difficult to hide at work, leading to hushed conversations in the break room and questioning glances from colleagues. 4 months after her first visit to Blossom, Marley sat across from her primary care physician, discussing options for transition. The doctor was supportive, referring her to specialists and providing resources for both medical and mental health support. "This isn't a sprint," the doctor advised. "Take your time, and remember that physical changes are only one part of this journey." Marley nodded, clutching the prescriptions and referrals. "I've been waiting my whole life without knowing it. I can be patient now that I understand what I've been waiting for." The hormone therapy began subtly reshaping her body, softening her features, redistributing fat, and gradually altering the landscape of her physical self. Each small change was noted and celebrated in the privacy of her apartment, where she now lived fully as Marley. The conversation with her sister came first among family members. They met at a quiet cafe, and Marley wore a simple blue blouse with jeans, her growing blonde hair just long enough to tuck behind her ears. "You seem different," her sister observed, studying Marley's face. "Happier somehow." Marley took a deep breath. "I am happier. I'm finally being honest with myself, and I want to be honest with you too." The words flowed more easily than expected, explaining the journey that had begun with borrowing a pink cardigan and ended with finding herself. Her sister listened, questions interspersed with supportive nods. "So, Marley," she said finally, testing the name. "I always wanted a sister." The tears came then, relief and gratitude mingling as Marley reached across the table to squeeze her sister's hand. "Thank you." Not all conversations were as smooth. Her parents struggled, her father particularly silent during the family dinner where Marley explained her transition. Colleagues at work had varied reactions when she finally came out formally, aided by a surprisingly supportive HR department. Some friends drifted away, uncomfortable with the change they didn't understand, while others drew closer, protective and curious. Through it all, Blossom remained a sanctuary. Eleanor became more than a sales associate. She became a friend and mentor, introducing Marley to other transgender women in the community, sharing resources, and offering a sympathetic ear on difficult days. 1 year after that first visit, Marley's transformation was well underway. Her hair had grown long enough to style in feminine ways. The hormones had softened her features and created subtle curves, and her wardrobe was now entirely feminine, curated to her personal style that balanced professional polish with casual comfort. The floral dress still hung in her closet, now slightly worn from multiple wearings, but preserved as a reminder of the day everything changed. She wore it to celebrate the anniversary, visiting Blossom for what had become a monthly shopping ritual. Eleanor greeted her with a hug. "Happy anniversary! I was hoping you'd come by today." "I wouldn't miss it," Marley replied, smoothing down the familiar fabric of the dress. "This place changed my life." "You changed your life," Eleanor corrected. "We just provided some fabric and a fitting room." She gestured toward the back of the store. "Actually, I wanted to talk to you about something. Do you have a minute?" In the small office behind the sales floor, Eleanor explained that the boutique's manager was leaving to relocate with her family. "The owner asked if I knew anyone who might be interested in the position, and you were the first person I thought of." Marley blinked in surprise. "Me? But I've never worked in retail." "You've got business experience from your accounting background, and you understand our clientele in a way most applicants wouldn't. Plus, I've seen how you interact with other customers when you're here, especially those who seem uncertain or are just beginning their journeys." The idea took root immediately. Marley had been considering leaving her accounting position, where, despite official acceptance, she still felt the weight of being before and after in people's minds. Starting fresh somewhere new, somewhere meaningful, held powerful appeal. 2 weeks later, she submitted her resignation at the accounting firm. A month after that, she began training as the new manager of Blossom. The boutique transformed under her guidance over the next few years. While maintaining its original aesthetic and appeal to all women, Marley quietly expanded the selection to include options that worked well for transgender women, cuts that flattered different body types, styles that provided coverage where desired, specialized undergarments discreetly available upon request. Word spread in the transgender community about Blossom being a safe, welcoming space. Marley trained her staff to be attuned to the nervous first-timers who entered the store, often recognizing in their eyes the same mixture of fear and hope she had felt herself. 5 years after her first visit as a customer, Marley stood in the center of Blossom, surveying the morning preparations before opening. Her blonde hair, now grown long and layered, was pulled back in a simple ponytail. She wore a professional navy blue dress with a subtle floral pattern, comfortable yet elegant flats, and the same pendant necklace she had purchased on her first visit. The store had expanded, nearly doubling in size to accommodate the growing clientele. Eleanor had been promoted to regional manager for the small chain, overseeing 3 locations but still making time to visit this original store where their friendship had begun. The morning staff moved efficiently around her, straightening displays, restocking shelves, checking inventory. Marley made a few adjustments to a front window mannequin, ensuring the spring display captured the right balance of sophistication and approachability. The door chimed unexpectedly, 15 minutes before official opening time. Marley turned, ready to explain they weren't quite open yet, when she saw a figure standing hesitantly at the entrance. The person wore baggy jeans and an oversized sweatshirt, with short brown hair and nervous eyes that darted around the store before settling on Marley. Despite the masculine clothing, there was something in the stance, in the careful way they held themselves, that Marley recognized immediately.
I'm sorry,
they said, voice pitched slightly higher than might be expected. I know you're not open yet. I can come back. Marley approached with a warm smile. We're almost ready. You're welcome to look around while we finish setting up. She extended her hand. I'm Marley, the manager. David, they replied, shaking her hand briefly before withdrawing again. First time visiting us, David? A nod, eyes still scanning the store with a mixture of longing and apprehension. I've walked by a few times. Never came in before. Well, we're glad you did today. Is there something particular you're looking for? David hesitated, hands disappearing into the sweatshirt pockets. Not really. Just looking. Marley nodded, understanding everything that wasn't being said. Sometimes it helps to just browse, get a feel for the space. Our fitting rooms are private, if you want to try anything on. She gestured toward a display of cardigans in various spring colors. Those are popular this season, very versatile. David's gaze lingered on a soft pink cardigan, not unlike the one Tatum had worn years ago. Maybe. Tell you what, Marley said gently. I'll be at the counter if you have any questions, or if you'd like suggestions. Take your time. She moved away, giving David space to explore. From the corner of her eye, she watched as they cautiously approached the cardigan display, fingers reaching out to touch the soft fabric of the pink one. A memory washed over her. The feeling of that first pink cardigan against her skin, the way Eleanor had seen past the uncertainty to the person emerging underneath. She had been given a gift that day, one she had spent the last 5 years trying to pay forward. As David eventually made their way to the fitting rooms, a pink cardigan and a simple skirt draped over one arm, Marley smiled to herself. Another journey was beginning, another person taking those first terrifying, exhilarating steps toward authenticity. Her phone buzzed with a message from Eleanor. Monthly inventory meeting at 2, bringing lunch from that Thai place you like. Marley replied with a quick thank you, then turned her attention back to the store. The staff had finished the opening preparations, the register was ready, and the day stretched ahead with possibilities. The door chimed again as another early customer entered, a regular who visited monthly to see what new arrivals might complement her work wardrobe. Good morning, Christine, Marley greeted her. We just got in some pieces I think you'll love. As she guided Christine toward the new display, Marley caught sight of David emerging from the fitting room, the pink cardigan now worn rather than carried. The transformation was subtle, but unmistakable. Shoulders held a little straighter, eyes a little brighter. It looks wonderful on you, Marley said as they approached the counter. The color really suits you. David's smile was small but genuine. Thank you. I think I'll take it. As she carefully folded the cardigan and placed it in a Blossom shopping bag, Marley included a store card with her personal email written on the back. If you have any questions or need suggestions in the future, feel free to reach out directly. David accepted the bag, understanding flickering in their eyes. Thank you. I might do that. We all start somewhere, Marley said softly. For me, it was a pink cardigan, too. The recognition in David's expression was immediate, the relief of being seen, of finding someone who had walked a similar path. Really? Marley nodded. 5 years ago, right in this store. And now you run it. Life has a funny way of bringing us full circle sometimes. She handed over the receipt. We have a loyalty program if you're interested. We can send you updates on new arrivals, special promotions. The echo of Eleanor's words from years ago brought a smile to her lips. David nodded. I'd like that. As David left the store, cardigan safely tucked in the blossom bag, Marley turned to greet the next customer entering through the door. The morning sun streamed through the windows, catching on the pendant around her neck, a simple, elegant piece that had marked the beginning of her journey. The dress that had started everything now hung framed on the wall of her office, preserved as a reminder and an inspiration. Sometimes, when helping someone especially nervous or uncertain, she would share its story, how a single garment had revealed a truth long hidden, how cloth and cut could unleash a self waiting to emerge. The boutique hummed with activity as the day progressed. Marley moved through the space with practiced ease, assisting customers, managing staff, ensuring that Blossom remained what it had been for her, a sanctuary of possibility, a place where transformations could begin with something as simple as a pink cardigan or a floral dress. At quiet moments, she would touch the pendant at her throat, a physical connection to the day when Tatum had first glimpsed Marley in the mirror. The journey hadn't always been easy, but standing here, 5 years later, fully herself and helping others find their way, she knew it had been worth every step. When Eleanor arrived later with lunch, they sat in Marley's office reviewing inventory reports and planning for the upcoming season. Their conversation flowed easily between business and personal matters. Eleanor's recent engagement, Marley's dating experiences in the small but supportive community they had built. Did I see someone leaving with a pink cardigan this morning? Eleanor asked, a knowing smile playing at her lips. Marley nodded. Reminded me of myself, that same look in their eyes. You've built something special here, Eleanor said, gesturing to encompass not just the office but the entire store beyond. A safe space where people can discover themselves. We built it together, Marley corrected. You saw me before I even saw myself. Eleanor laughed softly. I just recognized a fellow woman with good taste in dresses. After lunch, Marley returned to the sales floor, where a small group of customers browsed the new spring collection. Among them was a woman Marley recognized, a transgender woman who had first visited Blossom 3 years ago, as nervous and uncertain as Marley herself had once been. Now she shopped with confidence, her style refined and assured, occasionally bringing friends who were just beginning their own journeys. They exchanged waves across the store, a silent acknowledgement of shared experience and growth. This was perhaps what Marley valued most about her position, watching the evolution of customers from tentative first visits to confident returns, seeing reflections of her own journey in theirs. The afternoon passed in a pleasant rhythm of sales and consultations. Marley helped a mother find a dress for a wedding, assisted an elderly woman in selecting comfortable yet stylish loungewear, and guided a college student toward professional attire for internship interviews. Each interaction drew on different aspects of her experience, both personal and professional. The accounting background helped with budgeting advice for the student. Her own journey informed the gentle guidance offered to another nervous first-timer who came in just before closing. As the last customer left and the staff began closing procedures, Marley retreated to her office to complete the day's paperwork. Her gaze fell on the framed dress on the wall, the blue fabric with small daisies now slightly faded but no less meaningful. She thought of David and the pink cardigan, wondering if it might become a similar touchstone in their journey. Perhaps in 5 years, David too would look back on this day as the beginning of something profound. Marley's phone chimed with a notification. an email to the boutique's general address. Opening it, she found a message from David, sent just hours after their visit. "Thank you for making me feel welcome today. I've been struggling to find the right words for what I'm feeling, but when you mentioned starting with a pink cardigan too, something clicked. I'd like to make an appointment for a personal shopping session, if that's possible. I have so many questions, and it seems like you might understand better than anyone else I've met." Marley smiled, typing a warm response, scheduling a time for the following week. She added links to some of the resources that had helped her in those early days. Support groups, informational websites, reading recommendations, along with a personal note. "Every journey is unique, but none of us walks alone. Looking forward to helping you find your path." As she finished the email, there was a knock at her office door. One of her newest employees, hired just a month ago, stood in the doorway. "Everything's closed up front. The day's receipts are tallied and match the system totals." "Thank you, Rachel," Marley said. "Excellent work today, especially with that gentleman who came in looking for a gift for his wife. You found exactly the right approach." Rachel beamed at the praise. "I'm learning from watching you. The way you seem to know exactly what each customer needs, sometimes before they know themselves." "That comes with experience," Marley replied, "and from remembering what it felt like to be on the other side of the counter." After saying goodnight to the remaining staff, Marley gathered her things and took one last look around the boutique. The displays stood ready for tomorrow's customers. The register was closed, the lights dimmed except for the security fixtures. She touched the pendant at her throat, a gesture that had become almost unconscious over the years. A small acknowledgement of the journey from that first day to this moment. Outside, the evening air was mild with early spring warmth. Marley walked to her car, heels clicking softly on the pavement, her reflection briefly captured in the darkened windows of neighboring shops. The woman who looked back at her, confident, accomplished, at peace with herself, bore little outward resemblance to the person who had nervously entered Blossom 5 years ago. Yet inwardly, the connection remained unbroken. The same heart, the same soul, finally aligned with the exterior the world now saw. Tomorrow would bring new customers, new stories, new beginnings in the fitting rooms of Blossom. Some would find exactly what they were looking for. Others, like Tatum had years ago, might discover something they hadn't known they were seeking. Marley started her car, thinking of the pink cardigan that had begun her journey and the one that might now be starting another's. Small choices, small garments, with the power to reveal monumental truths. As she drove home through the quiet streets, Marley smiled at the thought of David's email waiting for response, of the appointment now set for next week, of another circle potentially beginning. Life did indeed have a way of coming full circle, she reflected. From customer to manager, from seeking guidance to offering it, from borrowed clothes to authentic self. The floral dress had been just the beginning of a story still being written. Page by page, day by day, in a boutique called Blossom, where transformations began with something as simple as being seen for who you truly are.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!